Hey guys, in today's video, we're talking about all about flying with your guitar, bass, or your instruments. So somewhat recently got back from a trip in Florida. We played there for like a week, 2 flights to get there, 2 flights to get back. And it just made me want to do this video. I've been wanting to do this video for a while. So I'm always nervous about it every single time, but there's things that I've learned about doing all these flights with my instrument that made me want to compile a list. So maybe I can pass the information off to you and you might find it valuable. So this video is broken up into different sections and you can use the timestamps down below if you want to. I'm going to talk about, packing up, being at the gate, TSA, being on the plane. I'm also going to give you just some general tips, as well as give you a bunch of gear recommendations that I recommend if you plan to travel with your instrument. And some of these tips I don't think I've seen anyone else mention before, so hopefully you learned something new. Before we get started, I post videos like this all the time, stuff on wireless in-ear monitors, gear reviews, finding cheap stuff for musicians on Amazon, kind of a music tech channel. If you're interested in seeing more videos like this in the future, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell to be notified when I put out new videos, and hitting the thumbs up button is a free way to support the channel. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at ScottYuleMusic as well. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So as far as packing and getting ready, I'm gonna just give you the obvious one first. Don't pack anything sharp. Multi-tools or something that have like a pocket knife or like a blade or something on it, or even like peg winders, like with the little clips right here. Most of the time you probably get through it fine, but it's anything sharp will likely get thrown away. But if it's something you need like this, I always end up packing this in the checked bag and it's fine. But sometimes when you go through the TSA, they'll take it from you. Pretty obvious, but again, just make sure that you are aware of that. I say that as someone who did accidentally pack a multi-tool, and of course they threw it away. Okay, so keep in mind when you travel, you usually get a carry-on, a personal item, and then checked baggage. Most of the time you're able to carry on your guitar. They don't always allow it, and I'll address that more here in a little bit. But most often, the personal item that needs to live under the seat in front of you, that is the safest one because you always will know where it's at. You don't have to put it up, you don't have to check it, you always have that with you. So for me, when I travel, that's where I keep my most important stuff, my in-ear monitors, my HX Stomp, which is my rig. Sometimes we travel with a portable mixer like the X Air, the Behringer X Air. That'll be in a backpack or something like that. Obviously, your guitar and stuff like that is very important, but if you have pedals or gear like that, that is really, really crucial that if they lose it, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Fitting that into the backpack that lives under the seat in front of you is probably the best way to ensure that those items make it to where you're trying to go. I do recommend this backpack. That's the one that I have. I mean, really any backpack will work for you. Any gear that I mentioned will be linked down below. So there's been this rumor that you're supposed to unwind your strings before you fly because when it goes into the cargo area that it's a different pressure and it'll snap your neck or something like that. I did some research on it, and the main thing that I found is from an article, which I will link down to below if you are interested in reading more, but I'll post some of it on the screen. Basically says that it's unnecessary now. I'll be honest, in all the times that I've done it, I've never unwound my strings and I haven't had any problems with it. So I think that is just a rumor. If you know more about that, please leave a comment down below. Let me know. I will link to the article that I found that basically confirms that you don't need to do it. However, if it gives you some peace of mind, just knowing that your instrument is safe, I mean, there's no harm in unwinding the strings a little bit. Okay, this is the last part of packing and being ready for the flight. Make sure your stuff is in a well-padded case. Seems obvious, but don't put it in like a little gig bag. Those things are really flimsy and they'll break, especially if they make you check it. You don't want to throw it in with the luggage and it's a very flimsy case and it could like break the neck or something like that. So just make sure your stuff is protected. I do recommend the cases by Mono. They do a great job at protecting your gear, and it's not in a hard case, and I'm going to address why that's actually valuable here in a little bit. Those are the ones that I recommend, and I will post links to those down below. It has backpack straps so you can put them on your back as you're walking through the airport so you don't have to carry them. It's very well padded, and it has even a spot to hold the neck. It has a pocket to hold everything. Those are the ones that I recommend if you are going to travel with it. And again, I will address specifically why I recommend those over a hard case here in a little bit. Just make sure everything is well protected. Again, a lot of those seemed obvious, so I wanted to get the obvious stuff out of the way at first, but it's still worth knowing and just getting a mental checklist. Okay, so as far as the check-in, when you check in for your flight at the airport, you are allowed to bring, your guitar and your bass and stuff like that as a carry-on. If you're bringing like a violin or a ukulele or a mandolin or something like that, those are a lot smaller and they're not usually a problem. However, if you're bringing, a guitar or a bass, those are longer. Sometimes they will try to make you check it. Sometimes they'll, kind of put up a fight about it. But what you can do is you can ask them to gate check it. If they really say you have to check your guitar for whatever reason, you can ask them, can I gate check it? Now, what a gate check is where you go to the gate, where you get on the walkway to get onto the plane. And what you do is you leave it at the end of the walkway And they usually give you a ticket, and then someone there takes it and puts it directly onto the plane from there. So it doesn't have to go into the luggage carousel where it's more likely to get lost that way. Anyone who's lost luggage knows that. Most of the time it's fine, but again, bringing it to the gate and leaving it there and that someone comes and takes it and puts it directly on that flight is a better way to ensure that your guitar is going to make it to where it needs to go. So you can always ask, would I be able to gate check this? And most of the time they're okay with that. So gate checking is definitely better than just regular checking. And then my singer, he actually had his acoustic lost. They lost it for about like 5 days and then they finally found it. But he did not do a gate check. It was funny. We were coming back from the Middle East actually. So we went from Qatar to Turkey to San Francisco, and then San Francisco to Denver. It made it all those longer flights. That last flight from San Francisco to Denver, the home stretch, is where they lost the acoustic guitar. Again, luckily they found it about 5 days later. So if you gate check it, it's far less likely that that's going to happen. So if you can ask for a gate check, I would recommend that. And then, of course, if you do have to check it for whatever reason, whether it's a gate check or just a regular checked bag, always get the ticket. Always get the ticket for lost luggage. They always give you some sort of ticket in case if the luggage gets lost. Always hold on to that, just in case if something happens. All right. And of course, eventually, everyone has to go through the TSA. I could spend this whole video ranting about my experience with the TSA. I'm not going to do it. I'm really going to restrain myself from doing that. So most of the time, it really is okay. Most of the time, it's really fine. I've gone through the TSA. There's one lady who was like scared to death. She didn't want to touch anything with the guitar. She was super nervous with touching it, and which was awesome as someone, who doesn't want my gear being messed up by someone who doesn't know what they're doing. And she's like, "Can you open this?" And she was very polite, and she swiped it, and she's like, "I'm just so nervous of messing up your instrument." That was really cool. I've had ones where like one of the guys working at TSA was a guitar player and was asking me about the gear that I have and was talking to him about how the HX stomp is great and all this stuff. And sometimes that's great. Other times, you have the douchebags who are on a power trip or on a bad day or whatever. I always show up being very polite. I'm not going to aggravate them more because, they're the ones with the power in that point, in that situation, which as annoying as that is, it's the way that it goes. So this is, where it sucks is that I've had so much dumb crap taken away from the TSA. And these are real things that have been taken by me or my bandmates. They have taken batteries, like 9-volt batteries or even AA batteries. They've taken duct tape. They've taken Allen wrenches, just single Allen wrenches. The dumbest one was the multi-tool. I'll post a picture of it on the screen if I can find it. But it was like, a flat multi-tool. It has like a flat head on one side and a measuring tool and it has like 50 things on it. But it's not sharp at all. And this lady took it out and touches like the side of it where the ruler is. The ruler where it has, like 6 inches of whatever measurement that it has or however long it is. And she's like, "Oh, I don't know. That feels a little sharp." And she took it and threw it away. The dumbest thing ever. It literally felt like a ruler. And I'm not going to rant. I'm not going to rant about the TSA. But that was a real thing that happened. That's a multi-tool that I have. If I needed to fix something on my guitar, it was really easy with that multi-tool. She took it away and threw it away. There's nothing I could do about it. Yeah, I've accepted like one of the first times that I flew, I accidentally left my multi-tool in there that had, like pliers and like a little blade on it. Obviously, I know that's going to be taken from the TSA. That was my bad. Something with a ruler, just ridiculous. But it really did happen. So just ultimately, again, going back to what I said, like this, I always make sure to pack. Anything possibly sharp, just make sure that you leave that in the checked bag. Something with the Allen wrenches that happened in Mexico, or at least it was in Mexico City. They actually have a sign that says things that are not allowed, and Allen wrenches is one of them. I really wonder why. If you know why, leave a comment down below. But yeah, they don't like Allen wrenches if you travel to Mexico. I've traveled plenty in the United States without any problems with like my Allen wrench little kit or whatever. But for some reason in Mexico, they don't like that. So just keep that in mind. So you might be saying, well, why don't I just always have everything be checked instead of going through the TSA if they're just going to throw this stuff out because they're not as strict with, sharp items if it's a checked item. To me, I've actually had stuff taken out of my checked bag, which is what's annoying. I would rather have the TSA there going through my stuff and I see it. I would rather have that happen than what happened before where they went through my bag and they'll leave a note saying we had to go through your bag, everything should be fine. I remember there was some other YouTuber who had the same thing happen. They messed up their pedal board, because they had to check the pedal board and they had to dismantle it or whatever for some dumb reason. It messed up his pedal board. So I would rather bring that with me and be able to at least explain to him like, hey, I can do that for you. I can take this pedal off if that's really what is your concern because I trust trust myself with my gear more than I trust someone else. But with the TSA, when they checked it, I did have it stuff that was stolen. They took my iRig, which is my backup device. They took an iPad, clip holder type of thing, and they took like my underwater headphones that I had. They took that out of my bag. And there was a note in there, saying that they went through it or whatever. I don't want to say that someone stole it. I don't know how it works, but either way, my gear did not make it in there. So if they accidentally put it in another bag or left it or something like that, either way, some of my gear was taken. So I still prefer for my gear to be with me while I'm going through all this stuff. That's my personal preference. It's up to you, really. But as someone who has had TSA throw stuff away, I've had TSA lose or steal stuff out of my checked bag, I definitely prefer to at least have my gear with me so that I have a better chance of explaining what to do with the gear so they don't mess it up, and explaining what it is just in case if that does give me an out so that they don't throw it away. My 2 cents on that. So things are not always safe every time that you go through the TSA. I've had one scary time. So we were coming back from the Middle East. It was the same trip. One of the things that I always carry on, I have my Sennheiser wireless, my portable Sennheiser wireless, and my Sennheiser in-ear monitor system. And these were in my bag, and I got stopped. These were fine. They didn't look at it. This one, the in-ear monitor system, they had a problem with. And the guy went and twisted this thing and took it and went and showed his superior or something about or whoever it was. I don't know. I don't know if it was a superior or just a coworker, but they kind of talked for a minute, and I'm like, what am I going to do? They're about to throw away, $400, $500 replacement thing. There's nothing I can do about that. But luckily, he just came back and just shrugged and just gave it back to me and told me to keep going. I still don't know what it is. I don't know if they don't like that there was a switch on it. That was really, really weird. These look almost exactly the same. They just don't have a switch on the top. I'd rather have it with me than have it in my checked bag where they could have just easily been like, oh, toss it. At least if I had an opportunity to explain myself, I don't think it would have worked, but at least if I had that chance, I have a better chance of not having my gear thrown out. Last tip for the TSA, get TSA Pre-check. It is definitely worth it, especially if you travel a lot. I think it's $80 for 5 years. You have to fill out a questionnaire, and then you go in and do an interview, and they approve you for it, and you get the TSA Pre-check. If you don't have Pre-check, you have to take out all of your equipment out of your backpack. You have to take your shoes off, take your belt off, stuff like that. You can leave your belt, hoodie, everything on. You just take things out of your pocket and just put it in your bag. It is so much nicer if you're traveling with gear. It's 100% worth it. I've stopped far less since I got Pre-check about 5 years ago, so I probably need to actually renew it before my next trip. I need to actually look at that, so I'm glad I'm doing this video. I think it was about 5 years ago that I got it, but it's 100% worth it. It's $80 for 5 years. Definitely worth it to get the Pre-check. So that's basically all about the TSA. Did I do all right with not ranting too much? I really tried to hold myself back on that one. Again, most of the time it's fine. It's just those bad experiences always stick with you. Okay, so when you're at the gate, when you're about to board the plane, again, as I mentioned, gate checking is better than regular checking. However, I still prefer just to bring my guitar on the plane. I'm the only one in charge of it. If I leave it at the end of the walkway, it could get left there. That'd be a pretty big mistake, but I care the most about my instrument. What people doing their job that they, let's be honest, don't really care that much about. They care about not getting in trouble. I've been there, just being honest. I'm going to be the one who cares about my instrument the most. So I prefer to be the one to bring my instrument onto the plane and taking care of it. So these are tips to help you be able to bring it onto the plane. If you really don't care about the gate check, that's fine. Do a gate check. I mean, like I said, most of the time it's okay, and it's definitely better than a regular check. I personally prefer to just be the one in charge of my guitar and bringing it on the plane. So first of all, sometimes there is no way that it fits in the overhead bin. There's sometimes that's going to happen. And actually on this Florida trip, we took, 4 flights. So it was a connecting flight each way. So getting there and getting back. On all 4 flights, the bins were way too small. You literally could not fit the guitar in there. So what I did, and you can do this too, is you can ask if you can put it in the coat closet. There's usually a coat closet for the flight attendants and stuff like that, where they can put bags or coats or jackets or something like that. Not all planes have them, but on this one, they all did. So since they couldn't fit in the bin, I was able to put it in the coat closet for all 4 flights. The first 2, the ones getting out there, the flight attendants actually asked. They were like, oh, would you like to put this in the coat closet? Really polite, really nice about it. They took care of it, and they offered. On both flights back, I had to ask for it. One of them was really fine about it and was really polite. I was like, sure. The other one didn't want to deal with people, and she was eventually like, fine, just do it, type of thing. So I was able to do that. So you can always ask about the coat closet. If you have 2 guitars in softer cases, not with harder cases, this is one of the main reasons why I like these softer softer cases more. Although sometimes with the hard cases it'll work. But if you have two guitars, you can stack them on top of each other and they'll fit in the bin. So it still takes the same amount of space as like if two people put up their luggage in the overhead bin. If you just stack two acoustic guitars or two electric guitars, especially electrics, on top of each other, since electrics are thinner, usually you're able to do that. So, if they say you're not gonna be able to fit it, it's like, well, if you're traveling with your bass player or something like that, can we fit our instruments above, and stack them on top of each other and it won't take up any extra room? So that's another option as well. Well, another main reason why I stopped bringing hard cases, besides, first of all, carrying it on your back as a backpack is really helpful for maneuvering through an airport. If you're trying to bring a carry-on and luggage and another guitar on the other hand, it's just really helpful. However, I used to travel with hard cases. My other guitar player would get on the plane with one of the softer cases. He would never get stopped. I would bring my hard cases and I would always get stopped. I noticed this, and he brought up, he's like, hey, you didn't need to get like one of the nicer soft cases, like the mono ones. And when I switched to that, I got stopped far less, and I was able to just carry the guitar on much more often with a soft case than a hard case. So I think they think that, the hard case, since you can't squish it, not that you can really squish a soft case anyways, but it doesn't look as intimidating to bring a soft case as it is to bring a hard case. So I get stopped less when I bring the mono case, which is the only thing I travel with now. I don't bring a hard case anymore. So that's another big reason why I like the mono cases. But the thing is that, if I don't recommend getting like a thin gig bag or something like that, because sometimes they still make you check it no matter what. So what's the way to have the best of both worlds? Make sure your gear is protected and give you the best chance of bringing your gear on. Hard cases are more likely to get stopped, but they'll protect your gear. Gig bags are the easiest ones to get on because they don't look like they're going to take up that much room. But if they make me check it, it's much more likely that it will get damaged. So mono cases are that sweet spot where it really protects your gear if it does get checked. And I've had that guitar checked multiple times and it's been great in the mono cases, and you can have more of a chance to bring it on. That's why I like the mono cases. Again, check the link in the description down below if you're interested in getting one of those. So as far as, again, I like to be the one to bring my guitar onto the plane. What I have found is that the people who are checking you in, who scan your tickets as you go onto the walkway, they have stopped me far more often than the flight attendants. And I want to say that every single time that I have been asked, you have to gate check it, there's not enough room, I get on the plane, and sure enough, there's like 3 open bins that they close up. The guitar totally could have fit in those bins. Some of them just don't want to help people. Some of them are just trying to do the best job that they can. There's no point in yelling at them. It doesn't help the situation at all. So what happens often is you'll get one of these. This is a little pink tag. This is the tag that they give you. I've held on to this one because this is actually one that they gave me. What they do is they wrap it around your guitar, usually the handle, and they tell you to leave it down at the gate. I push back a little politely and I say, this is my carry-on. Do you mind if I carry it on? And, if they push back and they say no, they have to gate check it or whatever, they give you this. So usually they put that on your handle. This is what I like to do. Hopefully this video doesn't get as popular or flight crew don't realize about this, because then not everyone will be able to do this. But this is a little trick that I've done, is that if it's in the handle, what I do is I just cover it up. So, so if it's in the handle, I'll hold onto it and just carry my guitar in with it, kind of tucked away, and I'll bring it in and I'll just put it up in the overhead anyways. So if I get stopped and they're like, hey, you were supposed to gate check that, I'll just play dumb. I haven't had to do this, but I've practiced it in my head. Like, what is gate checking? They told me to bring this down, and just play dumb. And then it's like, oh, I'm sorry. If they do stop you and they make you check it at the gate. So I always cover this and just load it in, and it's been fine. If they do ever stop me, I'm just gonna play dumb. But definitely don't lose. They usually give you a ticket, like, it tears off the bottom. So don't lose that ticket if you do gate check it, because that's the receipt that's yours. About a year ago, actually, my wife and I were flying and we got pink ticketed, and she just ripped it off and brought it onto the plane. So it was pretty ballsy of her to do that, and it worked. She took it off on the way down the walkway, ripped it off, and just put it in the overhead bin and just didn't say anything about it. My wife's a badass, so it's pretty awesome. Actually, you know what? I was wrong. I did get stopped one time that I tried to play dumb. We did a Europe tour 2019, and we had to fly to Iceland and then Belgium, and then we did the return flight back. The first 3 flights were great. There were no problems. Everyone on Iceland Air was really nice. The final flight home, for some, they were just really grumpy about it, and they said you have to gate check it. And they gave me the ticket or whatever. And I tried just walking onto the plane. It was one of those where it didn't have a runway. you had to go like outside and then get up onto like the stairs to go onto the plane. I tried just being like, not knowing what they're saying and tried to walk on. And the guy stopped me. He's like, hey, you have that ticket. You have to load that on the plane. So I didn't get away with it with that one. But that's why I'm glad I had the mono case. And that was the same case that I had, and my gear is fine. It was funny though, because our bass player, he bought an acoustic guitar at a pawn shop. I think in the Netherlands is where it was at. I mean, he just had this acoustic guitar and he's going through the gate, and they make him check his bass. But the acoustic guitar, he's literally just holding it. He put like his jacket around it and that was it. And they told him like, well, we can't check that. So they let him carry that on because it wasn't in a case. They took compassion on him and said you could just carry it on. So he actually sat with like the acoustic guitar in his seat the whole flight back from Iceland all the way to Denver. So I don't know, man. It's such a strange experience that like my stuff. No, absolutely, you must check it. But then if you have an acoustic guitar that's not protected, they let you carry it on. Just an interesting experience for sure. All right, so just some other just general advice I would give you if you're traveling with your instruments. My first piece of advice is don't travel with your baby. I don't know how many guitars you have or how many instruments you have, because I keep saying guitars. I'm a guitar player. This applies to any instrument, but my babies are my Babbitts acoustic and my PRS electric guitar. Those two are my babies. I would be so sad if something happened to those. My workhorses are my Taylor that's on the wall back there. And then electrics, I did have I used my Variax for the longest time, and I actually switched over to one called a GTRS guitar, the S800. That thing has all the effects and amps built into the guitar, and it has like a little Bluetooth pedal that you use to control it, or you can control the patches with the button on the guitar called the Super Knob. Unbelievable. It's so cool. That's my new main guitar. Check out the video I did on that. But those are my workhorse guitars. I would be very sad if something happened to those guitars. Don't get me wrong, but I would be devastated if something happened to my babies. So I personally don't travel with those. Second piece of advice, always bring a backup device. I always bring an iRig. If something goes wrong with my pedals, that GTRS has everything built in, but you can turn that off and just use it as just a regular guitar. If something happened to that, or something happened to my HX Stomp if I was traveling with that, the iRig connects to my phone, and then I use an app like JamUp or Bias or something like that, and I can still get guitar tones out of it. Obviously, it won't be as good as, my main guitar, but if it helps me save the show so I can still do it with a usable tone, I definitely always make sure that I have a backup device. iRig is a great one since, it literally just plugs into your phones. Everyone always travels with their phones, so now you have a easy to use backup that's really tiny and easy to carry on. The battle of the airlines, some people love certain airlines and hate certain airlines. As far as like traveling with instruments, I don't see as some are better than the others. So like, like the Iceland one, when we did Iceland Air, they were amazing those first 3 flights, and then that 4th one, it was the end of the world that we were trying to bring our guitar on. I've flown a lot of them, and it really just depends on the people. I really don't think it's a certain airline. However, the one that makes me gate check the most is American Airlines. So I personally try not to fly that one if I can avoid it, because they usually are the ones who almost always give me trouble about having to check my guitar, or at least gate check it. Having said that, we did a gig in North Carolina I don't even remember when that was. I think it was like a year ago. We did a gig in North Carolina. We had to fly out American Airlines, and no problems getting there or back. They just let me go on with my guitar. So the battle of the airlines thing, I don't really know. American Airlines does seem to dislike having you bring your guitar on the most, in my experience. But even then, sometimes it really just depends on the people that you get. All right, so as far as gear recommendations, and all of these will be linked down in the description down below. First of all, as I've said throughout this video, the mono cases are really great. They protect your gear. They're still lightweight. They have a backpack. It is definitely what I recommend the most if you're going to travel with it. It gives you less of a chance of getting gate checked or having to check in general, and it still protects your gear if it does get checked. Highly recommend those. They have different sizes and stuff like that. I have one for my acoustic and one for my electric, and I'll post links to those down below, as well as, you can look to see if it fits with your exact guitar. But this one case that I have, it works with all of my electric. The other thing is the GTRS guitar. They're also just coming out with the P800, which seems really cool too. But that guitar that has all the amps, effects, and everything in it, and you program, each of the patches with like an app. This is my pedal board. This is it. And it's Bluetooth. It connects over Bluetooth. There's literally no cables. It is the best rig that I've used as far as it's so easy to set up and control this. You know, you have different patches that you can scroll through. It is the easiest travel rig ever. Even I use it as a normal rig, even without travel. But for travel, I mean, it's unbelievable. This is all you need. You know, this just goes in the front case in my mono case. That's it. I love this thing. It is amazing for travel. Check out my video that I did. I did a whole review and a breakdown of it. It's my main guitar now. It's really awesome. Not everyone wants to do that. And everyone likes to have, you know, their own types of rigs and stuff like that. I traveled with the HX Stomp for forever. That was my main rig. I did use the iPhone rig. I did a video about that a long time ago. One of my first videos of an iPhone rig. And I actually traveled with that a couple of times. We went to Cancun twice and Dominican once with it, and it worked. I definitely got better tones and sounds and control with the HX Stomp. So I ended up getting this case, which is actually a really nice, like lunchbox size by Case Matrix. I'll post a link to it down below, but it fits my HX Stomp in it, and it has a lot of room for other things in it as well. And actually, I did a whole video about the ultimate travel rig, which has everything that I need. It has my HX Stomp, it has my in-ears, it has a wireless, basically everything that I need all in one little case. So check out that video if you're interested in that. You might have to adjust the size to fit in a backpack or something like that. But this case does a great job fitting my backpack. Just remember, you know, you have to fit for your personal item. It has to fit under the seat in front of you. I sound like a flight attendant right now, but you know, so you can't put a whole bunch of stuff into your backpack. So you do have to think about size. That's what she said. I highly recommend buying an iRig. You know, they're like $100 as a backup to protect yourself, to make sure that you have a backup option in case if your pedals die or something like that, or your amp dies or something like that. Wireless gear, I've done so many reviews on like the cheap plug and play wireless, so you can check those out. My one of choice is the Sennheiser system, and this is a portable rig, so this is the transmitter and this is the receiver, so it fits perfectly in that case. I did do a video about that as well. And then my in-ear monitor system, you know, I use the Sennheisers as well, but there's a trick where you can use one of the little clips that go onto the back of like a microphone. This guy right here, I know it looks like a vape, everyone says it, but this is set to go onto the bottom of a microphone. But I emailed Sennheiser and was like, hey, if I set this to the same frequency as this one, can I make it work as like a reverse in-ear monitor system? And they said, yes, you have to change a few settings, but yes, you can do that. This is my travel in-ear monitor rig. It is a mono rig. If you have to have stereo, this won't work, but this is my travel in-ear monitor rig. So check out my video. I did a whole video explaining on how I set up that portable in-ear monitor setup. So check that out by clicking the link up above or down below. Also, I do have a video on a portable mic stand. Most of you don't need to bring mic stands. I do sometimes actually. So check out that video as well if you're interested in a portable mic stand. Again, links to all of these will be down in the description down below, and the video links will be down there as well. All right, you made it to the end of this long video. I had no idea it would be this long, so thank you for sticking around. I hope this helped you guys out. If you guys are watching this part right now, that means you made it to the end. Just do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button. It does a ton to help out the YouTube algorithm. I had no idea this video would be this long, and right now I'm dreading how long the editing of this video is going to take. Just do me a favor, just hit the thumbs up button. It recommends my video, my channel to more people, so I would highly appreciate it. Did I leave anything out? What has your experience been with traveling with your instruments? If you have any tips that have helped you, please leave a comment down below, and everyone definitely check the comments for other helpful tips. Again, all the links to all the gear I talked about are down in the description down below. They are Amazon affiliate links, so it doesn't cost you anything to use those links, but it is another free way to support the channel, so I would appreciate it if you did use those links. So check out some of the videos that I mentioned during this, especially that travel rig that I have and that GTRS guitar. You really need to check those out. Those things are really going to be helpful if you're looking for a travel setup. So click some of those links by clicking the links on the screen now. Don't forget to follow me on my social media pages at Scott Yo Music on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Thank you guys again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.